It's for you. It's for you.
WADR. You can listen to us on 94.9 FM in Dakar through our website www.wadr.org. WADR, promoting dialogue.
It's midday in Dakar, 1 o'clock in Abuja. Good afternoon and many thanks for staying tuned to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and worldwide on wadr.org. Welcome to Newslink, and here are the top stories. Senegalese President Diomaye Faye urges an increased volume of trade with Guinea-Bissau to boost the local economy.
The two countries can do more. That is why I would like to invite the private sectors of the two countries to mutualize efforts and resources to increase the volume of trade and private investments. It is a question of natural economic intelligence.
Nigerians mark Workers' Day amid petrol scarcity, clamor for new living wage.
Living wage is such a wage that will at least keep you alive. It's not a wage that will make you poor and poorer. It's not a wage that will lead you to be in the hospital every day because of malnutrition.
Security experts voice concern over the rise in arms smuggling in Ghana, and the Gambia receives a fleet of VIP cars as it readies for hosting the 15th OIC summit this weekend. Please stay tuned for details of these stories and more.
Here is Imo Edit with Newslink.
Many thanks for joining us, and a warm welcome to our listeners in the Gambia, Ghana, Liberia, and Sierra Leone. Well, let's begin with the bilateral meeting of Senegal and Guinea-Bissau, as the two neighboring countries have reaffirmed their commitment to strengthen ties and deepen cooperation. This declaration followed Senegal's President Bassirou Diomaye Faye's visit on Tuesday to Bissau, where he met with President Umaru Sissoco Embalo. Tuesday's trip marks Diomaye Faye's third international after his first and second travel to Mauritania and the Gambia, respectively. Abdullah Hassan has more details in this report.
During the visit, President Bassirou Diomaye Faye and his Bissau-Guinean counterpart Umaru Sissoco Embalo discussed ways to strengthen centuries-old relations between Senegal and Guinea-Bissau. Various areas of cooperation were reviewed during the discussions, including agriculture, fishing, training, and sharing of experiences in strategies to combat poverty. The deliberations stem from Senegal and Guinea-Bissau's cooperative relations. Here's an excerpt from President Diomaye Faye's speech.
The two countries can do more. That is why I would like to invite the private sectors of the two countries to mutualize efforts and resources to increase the volume of trade and private investments. It is a question of natural economic intelligence.
C'est une question, à mon avis, d'intelligence économique naturelle.
For his part, President Embalo expressed his government's willingness to continue the historic relations with Diomaye Faye, like he did with former President Macky Sall.
Senegal is not next to Guinea-Bissau. It is not a day. It is since Senghor before independence. The things that are started with our brother Macky Sall, that Diouf started with Nino, Senghor started with Louis Cabral, President Wadr started with Kumbayala, we will do it. On my side, I will do everything so that we can continue in the same dynamic.
There is, however, a debate about what impact Bassirou Diomaye Faye's visits will have on Senegal's international relations and foreign policy. Political expert Professor Gorgui Dieng shares his thoughts.
I believe that this is something quite positive, and then this probably inaugurates a new interpretation of what foreign policy should be as far as it is understood from the Senegalese authorities. Because we cannot develop Senegal without having peace with the neighboring countries. For example, we have with Mauritania agreements to exploit the gas and the oil together. Regarding the other two countries, you see the important role the two countries have got to play regarding the rebellion in Casamance.
Abdullah Hassan filed that reports. Meanwhile, the Court of Auditors in Senegal have published the control reports carried out in several sectors for the years 2021, 2022 and 2023 under the regime of former President Macky Sall. These reports reveal possible irregularities in the management of public money, which could therefore give rise to legal action so that responsibilities can be established. Francis Boniface has the details.
Following the firm instructions of the President of the Republic, Bassirou Diomaye Faye, the Court of Auditors proceeded to the publication of control reports for the period from 2021 to 2023. In total, 45 specific reports were posted online on the site of the institution to report on the controls carried out. The reports are organized by category. They were produced under control of the management of several municipalities, state companies, public funds, healthcare of state agents, revenues from extractive industries, and many others. These documents, which are marked confidential, are now available to the general public. Senegalese can now have an idea of how public money was managed in the context of the activities concerned by the former authorities. The publication of the reports is part of the relentless fight strategy promised by Bassirou Diomaye Faye against corruption, impunity, and mismanagement of state resources.
Francis Boniface reporting there. Let's take it now to the Sahel, where residents of Dakar in central Mali have removed the blockage on the main road connecting the town to other parts of the country. The Bankas resident had been protesting against insecurity in the area. Attacks and kidnappings of civilians have increased in recent months along the main road leading to Bankas in central Mali. Augustine Collier reports.
The removal of the blockade followed a meeting on Tuesday between the active forces of Bankas and the transitional authorities. During the meeting, the transitional authorities committed to guarantee the security of residents in the area. Amadou Lugwe is president of the Youth Association of Banjagara region, where Bankas is located.
Through the Association for the Development of Bankas, which resides in Bamako, they had a meeting with the transitional authorities, with whom they exchanged and they made commitments in order to protect and secure at least the users who will be on the RM15 road. This road is clearly dangerous because cars are hijacked or sometimes stolen. Thus, given the progress of the negotiations and the commitments made, people believe that it is necessary to lift the blockade.
Meanwhile, Amadou expresses concern about the well-being of civilians who were kidnapped a few days ago on the main road leading to Bankas.
Unfortunately, we have no news from them, but it should be noted that when they kidnapped 2 cars, they released one with a few passengers. And today, we have no news from them because all attempts have been in vain. We have no news from them. This is what pushed the residents of Bankas to block the national highway for days.
With the lifting of these barricades, traffic on one of the roads connecting the center and the north of the country has resumed after several days of blockade. Since 2021, the security situation has deteriorated in the Banjagara region, marked by attacks and more recently by the mass adoption of more than 100 civilians.
Augustine Kohler reporting there.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Today is Workers' Day, and the International Labour Organization ILO says the celebration of Labour Day has a sense of urgency for renewed commitment to social justice. This year, the focus is on ensuring safety and health at work in a changing climate. In Nigeria, the federal government on Tuesday raised salaries for its workers by between 25% and 35%, backdated to 2019. However, reacting to this statement on the pay increase, the Nigeria Labour Congress NLC said the gesture should be extended to all categories of civil servants. The NLC head Joe Ajero said the salary increase was a welcome development and government should ensure that the margin was reflective of the harsh economic situation in the country. He further called for a living wage instead.
Now that does not translate, to now a new salary scale, because some others are equally getting that rate before now. So for them to announce it now, it's an issue that we are worried at the NLC and even I think the TUC are already there. Discussion before now on 9,000, for them. So the minimum wage payment is in arrears. The best way, in fact, Mr. President promised that he was going to give a living wage to Nigerian workers. And the last minimum wage of 30,000 expired on the 18th of April. And then by now, we are assumed to be on the regime of new minimum wage as of today. And then discussions were supposed to be concluded. The federal government would have, through the National Assembly, legislated on it before now. But we saw that the discussion entered voicemail because the federal government, refused to reconvene the meeting. Living wage is such a wage that will at least keep you alive. It's not a wage that will make you poor and poorer. It's not a wage that will make you to borrow to go to work. It's not a wage, that will lead you to be in the hospital every day because of malnutrition.
Joe Ajero is the president of the Nigeria Labour Congress. Staying in Nigeria, a federal high court in the capital, Abuja, has granted the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, an interim order to freeze 1,146 bank accounts belonging to individuals and companies. This decision followed claims by the anti-graft agency that the accounts were involved in unauthorized foreign exchange dealings, money laundering, and terrorism financing. WD's Usman Marin Abuja reports that the ruling has unexpectedly generated another round of debates among legal experts.
The Federal High Court's ruling, delivered by Justice Emeka Onwiti, comes after the EFCC's ex parte motion seeking to freeze the listed accounts and concluded its investigation within 90 days. The motion, heard on April 24, cited various legal provisions, including sections of the Nigerian Constitution and anti-money laundering laws. According to the EFCC, preliminary investigations suggest that the frozen accounts are linked to individuals exploiting virtual cryptocurrency exchanges to manipulate the naira's value and launder proceeds from illegal activities. A legal practitioner, Maxwell Dauda, believes that even with an express court order, each of the individual or company accounts can't be unilaterally frozen by the anti-graft agency.
There's no absolute power on EFCC to freeze accounts. Whether a court can make such decision in the face of a Supreme Court decision I've cited and express constitutional provision, no court in this country will do so.
Also speaking on the matter, a constitutional lawyer, Chinemerem Evaristos, argues that as far as the order emanated from a court of competent jurisdiction, the Commission can freeze accounts for investigation purposes.
Under Section 34 of the EFCC Act, if the chairman of the Commission or any officer authorized by him is satisfied that the money in the account of a person is made through the commission of an offense under the Act, we will make an ex parte application to the court for power to issue an order addressed to the manager of the bank or any person in control of the financial institution or designated non-financial institution to freeze the account.
The current investigation adds to the list of ongoing inquiries by the Nigerian Anti-Graft Agency. EFCC says it is investigating more than 13 former state governors, ministers, and senior executive and judicial staff of the previous administration for embezzlement of over $600 million. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, Usman Umar, reporting from Abuja.
Authorities in Togo have reopened its land border after the 24-hour restriction to ensure the security and smooth running of the legislative and regional elections. Blocked on April 29, 2024, movement at land borders is now possible within the various activities and exchanges resuming at all border posts. Colonel Hadobalo Awate and the Minister of Security and Civil Protection, Calix Majuba, had emphasized the government decision to temporarily close the land borders as part of the legislative and regional elections which took place on April 29, 2024. In Ghana, security analyst has described as detrimental to the country's fight against the proliferation of small arms after United States Army General Kojo Owosudate was found guilty by a federal jury on multiple charges related to smuggling of firearms. The weapons were shipped to Ghana concealed within blue barrels of rice and household goods. Dr. Adam Bona is making a case for Ghana's Small Arms Commission to be elevated to an authority for it to deal with such issues. WDL's Nadia Tete in Accra reports.
According to U.S. court records and trial evidence, between June 28 and July 2, 2021, United States Army Major Kojo Owusu-Date acquired 7 firearms in Fort Liberty and directed a U.S. Army Staff Sergeant at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, to purchase an additional 3 firearms for him. These firearms, including handguns, an AR-15, 50-round magazines, suppressors, and a combat shotgun, were concealed in blue barrels with rice and household items and shipped from the port of Baltimore to the port of Tema in Ghana. The interception of the firearms by the Ghana Revenue Authority triggered an additional response involving U.S. agencies. The 42-year-old officer, currently stationed at Fort Liberty, faces a maximum sentence of 240 months to be pronounced on July 23, 2024. Reacting to the news, security analyst Dr. Adam Bonar expressed concern that there could be more individuals involved in the case, along with other potential destinations for the guns.
Some of the weapons are full automatic weapons, and full automatic weapons are not like the semi-automatics like the AK-47s and the rest. And so one is tempted to believe that some of these weapons might be en route to neighboring Sahelian countries like Burkina, Mali, Niger, and the rest, because that is where a lot of terrorist activities are going on. So I think that this is deeper than we are seeing. It looks like this is a whole gang who have come together or set up to pollute and probably supply illicit weapons using Ghana. That is what I think.
He emphasized the necessity of conducting a broader investigation to uncover the full extent of the matter. He added that this development is detrimental to Ghana's fight against the proliferation of small arms. He called for Ghana's Small Arms Commission to be elevated to an authority to better deal with incidents like these.
As we speak, when it comes to gun dealing and gun trading and usage and all those things, it is difficult to put a finger on one single institution that must regulate the importation, the storage, the use, and even the training of firearm users. We don't have it.
Nadia Detiti in Accra filed that report. You're listening to Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio 94.9 FM Dakar. Here's a reminder of the top stories. Senegalese President Diomaye Faye urges an increased volume of trade with Guinea-Bissau to boost the local economy. Nigerians mark Workers' Day amid petrol scarcity, clamor for new living wage. Security experts voice concern over the rise in arms smuggling in Ghana. And still ahead in the news, the Gambia receives a fleet of VIP cars as it readies for hosting the 15th OIC Summit this weekend. And we do have a guest interview and sports news. Please stay with us.
West Africa Democracy Radio. It's you speaking.
Well, don't forget we are streaming live on WADR.org, YouTube and Facebook. The Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, has launched a national platform to enhance the free movement of citizens in the bloc's basin. Speaking during the launching exercise, ECOWAS resident representative Joseph Nkrumah said the exercise will support regional efforts geared towards promoting free movement across the borders. WDL's Darlington Popper in Monrovia has more details.
The ECOWAS ambassador to Liberia, Josephine Nkrumah, calls on the authorities to ensure the free movement of people along the border. She explains that the adherence to the protocol will benefit countries, especially in the area of migration in the sub-region.
I wish to highlight that this will no doubt kickstart a robust implementation in Liberia and between Liberia and its neighboring states, namely Sierra Leone, Cote d'Ivoire, and Guinea. The areas of program intervention are primarily peace and security, dealing with conflict prevention, management, and resolution.
For his part, Deputy Foreign Minister Ibrahim Yang describes the ECOWAS cross-border cooperation as one of the instruments that enables social, economic, and cultural relations among countries in the sub-region.
And for us at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, our new direction is South-South cooperation. We don't see South-South cooperation as a concept. We see it as a practice to engage with. And we are starting that by using the Mano River Union as a framework to implement the objectives of ECOWAS in regional integration and trade promotion. Towards that end, we are organizing an MRU Foreign Minister and Minister of Development and Trade Conference in Liberia in June of this year.
The Liberian government vows to work with countries in the sub-region to ensure full adherence to all of the ECOWAS protocols. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, I'm Darlington Popper in Monrovia.
We head now to the Gambia as it prepares to host several heads of state for the 15th Organization of Islamic Cooperation OIC Summit in Banjul. Ahead of the big event this weekend, President Adama Barrow is calling for unity among Gambians for a successful hosting of the conference. The Gambian leader made a call after receiving a fleet of VIP vehicles meant for the transportation of gas from member states. From Banjul, Sankuli Janko reports.
President Barrow received a total of 87 vehicles procured and pre-financed by Espas Motors as the Gambia prepares to host the 15th OIC Summit on May 4 and 5, 2024. The new supply will increase the fleet of vehicles available to accommodate 57 member states during the Banjul Summit. The Gambian leader Barrow highlights the importance of the fleet of cars.
Two things were important. Without them, no OIC. Accommodation. No accommodation, no OIC. No vehicles, no ice. So these were very, very important, fundamental. And we were able to succeed in getting all these things in place.
Ahead of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation OIC Summit this weekend, President Adama Barrow calls for unity for a successful hosting.
We want everybody to be united so that we support each other to make sure we cheer for 3 years and not cheering alone, so that it will be a good legacy for all of us.
Meanwhile, the Vice President, Mohamed B. Jallow, toured major facilities built for the summit. Key among them is the Sir Dauda International Conference Center, where the summit will be held, and the VIP lounge at the Banjul International Airport.
We are ready. Everything is done. Nothing is left.
About 3,000 people are expected to converge in Banjul for the second biggest heads of state meeting. For listening on West Africa Democracy Radio, I am Sankula Janka reporting from Banjul.
More on international conference now. Cote d'Ivoire and Japan are working together to fine-tune all the necessary arrangements ahead of an Africa-Japan Economic Forum to be held in Abidjan. The details were discussed on Tuesday when President Alassane Ouattara received Japan's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Kamikawa Yuko. The two also held talks on forming bilateral cooperation between Cote d'Ivoire and Japan. Ogebiarika reports.
Ivorian President Alassane Ouattara welcomed the organization of the Africa-Japan Economic Forums scheduled for December 2024 in Abidjan. It will be the third edition of the forum that is expected to bring together economists from African states to discuss economic development and cooperation with Japan. During his exchanges with the Japanese Foreign Minister, President Ouattara assured his government's willingness to host the forum. The Japanese Minister of Foreign Affairs acknowledged the relations and cooperations between Japan and Cote d'Ivoire. Kamikawa Iyoko announced Japan's contribution towards stability and peace in Cote d'Ivoire by strengthening its security capabilities. Cooperation between Japan and Cote d'Ivoire began in 1966. Since then, Abidjan has obtained numerous investment from the Japanese government in several sectors, including infrastructure, energy, and agriculture.
Ogebiarika reporting there.
Politics, analyses on major news, social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
Well, let's take you back to the story on Workers' Day and the salary increment by Nigeria's federal government. This news has been received with mixed feelings by workers across the country. Our guest, Sheon Akioye, Social Mobilization Manager at Action Aid Nigeria, takes a look at the increment of workers' salary juxtaposed the current difficult economic situation.
This year alone, we've had several issues of cost of living crisis, inflation going above, outside of the window, cost of the services going beyond all prices. And recently, in the last 1 week, we have had a severe fuel crisis. Government officials are talking from the two sides of the mouth. We really do not know exactly what is the cause of this fuel crisis, and nobody is talking, and Nigerians continue to suffer. So this May Day is not a day of celebration, so to say, for Nigerian workers, but it is a day to sit back and reflect on what has become the lot of Nigerian workers in Nigeria. Their lot has been inflation, valuation of the naira, insecurity. Their lot has been, all of these infrastructural economic hardship in the country.
Speaking about the situation of Nigerian workers, the government has just increased salaries of workers at the federal level. Would you say that is enough compared with the current economic situation in Nigeria and the world?
Okay, let me just correct an impression. First, the government did not, so to say, increase the workers' salary. What was done was an adjustment by 25% and 35%. 25% goes to the lower cadre of workers, while 35% goes to the higher cadres of workers. And like you rightly mentioned, this applies only to federal workers. Now, if you look at 25% increase of 30,000 naira minimum wage, that's about 7,500 naira increment in the workers' wages. They still earn less than 40,000 naira. 40,000 naira is how much in dollars, judging from today's exchange rate. So the basic answer is it is not even enough of a drop in the ocean. And I have been talking to a lot of workers here at the media rally at Eagle Square in Abuja, and they are saying that what they expect is the announcement of a new minimum wage. A state in south of Nigeria, Edo State, last week announced 70,000 naira as the new minimum wage. Is the federal government going to follow suit and also match or improve on that 70,000 naira? We are here to listen to the government. We are here to hear what Mr. President will say. We want to say that we support Mr. President. We are with Mr. President. We wish him success in everything he does. But then again, in Action Aid, we are unapologetically in support of the poor people, because the poor people have done nothing wrong except have been poor. So let us make life a little bit easy for them.
In your opinion, what needs to be done to recognize and truly celebrate the efforts of workers, not just in Nigeria, but in the West African region?
All workers across the West African corridor, they are the backbone, they are the engine of the economy of West Africa. But what do they have? Number one, all they are asking for is just the basic things, the enabling environment to do their business. For instance, somebody in Nigeria is able to take his goods to Ghana and is able to sell at competitive price in Ghana. Somebody from Ghana is able to go to Dakar, Senegal, and the rest of the West African corridor, ECOWAS, and all the head of states in ECOWAS. They need to come together and see how they can improve the lot of ECOWAS by, number one, let there be a free trade. I think there has been an agreement, in the past over all of this. Let us settle our differences. Let us come together. Let us be able to trade freely between ourselves. Let us see ourselves as brothers and sisters. That is number one. Number two, especially in Nigeria, government has a lot to do. We are not just asking for an improved minimum wage. We are asking for a holistic increase, a holistic overhaul of our economy, holistic overhaul of the infrastructure, so that workers can have the right environment to thrive. That is all. And everybody will live in peace.
That was Sharon Kuya, Social Mobilization Manager at Action Aid, speaking there from the Media Rally Ground in Abuja. And in sport news, Rafael Nadal said he's doing his best to keep dreaming after he extended his stay at the Madrid Open by winning a 3-hour tussle with Argentina's Pedro Cachin 6-1, 6-7, 5-6, 6-3 on Monday. Contesting his home tournament one last time before retirement, the five-time champion gave the world number 91 his shirt after Cachin asked him for a memento from the match. Nadal's reward is a Tuesday last 16 clash with the 30th seeded Jiri Laheka, who beat the Locan in a practice session a week ago. The 37-year-old has been dealing with physical issues which have limited him to 8 matches this season. Meanwhile, Super Falcons Chiamaka Nadozie has clinched the Best Goalkeeper award in the French Women's League. The Nigerian defeated Olympique Lyon's Christian Endler and Paris Saint-Germain's Kataza Kedresnek to claim the prize on Monday night. She also was named the team of the season, capping off a thrilling night for the 23-year-old shotstopper. And an excited Chiamaka took to social media to express happiness over the feat, thanking her teammates and coaches. And we've come to the end of this edition of Newslink from West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Mustafa Sek and David Vincent for the technical support. Let's keep the conversation coming on all of our social media platforms, X, formerly Twitter, Instagram, @WADR News. Coming up at the bottom of the hour is our flagship gender program, 50-50. I am Imo Edit. Good afternoon.
And many thanks to you for listening to Newslink via